Hey everyone, welcome to the Hobby Grotto. Today I'm going to show you how to paint Imperial Guard, or as they're known these days, Astra Militarum, those loyal foot sloggers of the Imperium. I'm a big fan of starting certain models with an overbrush of dark brown, Rhinox hide to be precise. This not only creates a nice undertone for everything on the model, it also enables us to very quickly get lots of little details like pouches, straps and boots painted, which can be fiddly and time consuming later. While you could use a brown undercoat here, I do like the effect you get from overbrushing over black. And if you're wondering what overbrushing is, it's just a more solid dry brush. Same technique, you're just leaving a little bit more paint on the brush. I want to do a slight twist on the classic Cadian colour scheme of green and tan by using green and grey instead. This is going to give the model a bit more of a grimdark vibe with a cool and functional looking limited colour palette, and it's also going to speed up our painting because grey is a nice easy colour to paint over our dark brown base. When you're painting an Imperial Guard army, you generally have to paint a lot of miniatures, so the goal here is to keep everything as simple as possible, and dark colours generally work well with this. While you could very easily paint the body armour in black or grey, that army green is just so classic, I couldn't resist having it involved here. Castellan green is another dark colour, but it has enough difference in tone from Eshin grey to create some visual interest on the model, while not being too punchy and over the top. Remember, these are everyday soldiers in the trenches. They don't want to stand out on the battlefield in the same way as a Space Marine might. Natural neutral colours work great on Astra Militarum. Skin can be painted many colours, but I'm a big fan of basing Caucasian skin with Bugman's glow to create a bit more of a dirty and darkened look befitting the battlefield. When we come back with some highlights later, this colour is also going to create excellent shading for us. If you don't want to do too much highlighting and shading here, you can just base with a lighter skin tone. The wash is going to do a lot of work for us anyway. When it comes to metallics, one of my all-time favourite silvers is Iron Warriors. There's no bones about it, this is a dark colour, but it's going to be perfect for our needs, and it does still have a lot of shine to it. I find that if your silver is too bright, it can be a little bit distracting on the Mini. You may also want to use a brass or gold type colour for some of these details, but I'm just keeping it simple. With all the base coats done, it's time for a wash. I'm using Nuln oil here because I like that black lining effect it brings to the model, but a dark brown wash like Agrak's Earthshade would also work very well here. Either way, a full model wash like this is going to build some great shading and is incredibly fast. And folks, if you're enjoying the video, don't forget to hit that like button and maybe even subscribe if you're not already. That really helps spread the word of the grotto, so thank you. Once the wash is all dry, I like to get those eyes done and out of the way. And this is of course optional on your minis, particularly if you're painting a lot of them. Don't feel like you have to go mad painting eyes. They're barely noticeable anyway on the tabletop. I do also have a video on eye painting tips if you're interested, check that one out. Now I'm coming back and applying another layer to all the base coats. This is going to reinforce the shading we built with the wash, and also clean up all those surfaces that have been darkened by the Nuln oil. This is a very important step to make washes read well on the model in my opinion, and is really the next stage of building highlights and shading after the wash. Just make sure you keep those layers nice and thin. Washes can also dry with a little bit of shine to them, so adding a layer like this is going to dull that down a bit and give the whole model a better finish. There are so many cool Imperial Guard regiments that have appeared throughout the history of 40k, and while the Cadians are the most iconic, and thus the standard, I'd love to paint some of the others too, like the Val Holla Ice Warriors, or my personal favourites, the Praetorian Guard. Let me know your favourite regiments in the comments to give me some ideas. To highlight the skin, I'm using a very appropriate paint, Cadian Fleshtone. This is my go-to colour for Caucasian skin, but it's important to make sure it's nicely thinned for this kind of detail. The face is a focal point for the Mini, so we definitely don't want any thick, bumpy paint rearing its ugly head here. If you keep all that Bugman's glow in the cracks and crevices, you're really going to build some solid highlights. Now this I reckon is a good tabletop standard for your minis, but if you want to take it further, I'm going to do some optional highlighting now. Starting with Kislev flesh on the face and hands. We've already got some good highlights on the face from the Cadian Fleshtone, but adding some lighter tones to the nose, brow and other extremities is really going to take it to that next level. I use Kislev flesh for convenience, but you could very easily just mix in some white with your Fleshtone for this because it's such a small area. I really like this dark grey and I don't want to stray too far from it with the highlights, so I'm mixing my Eshin grey with Dawnstone about 50-50 for the first level of highlights, and I'm keeping this fairly minimal because, as I mentioned, if you get too carried away with highlights, you can really change the base colour in an undesirable way. I'm also adding some final edge highlights with pure Dawnstone. This will just brighten the grey up a bit more without detracting from our base tone. Loren Forest is a shade or two lighter than Castellan Green, so it will work well for the highlights on the armour and helmet. To create a sharper edge to everything, you could also just mix some white in with the Castellan Green, but I had Loren Forest on hand, so why not use it? These highlights are just going to build a little bit more visual interest between the grey and the green, and help differentiate the colours some more on the tabletop. One of my favourite ways to create a dark brown highlight is simply to mix some bone in there. This brightens the tone up but doesn't desaturate the brown the way a pure white would. None of these brown parts are focal points anyway, so I'm mainly just highlighting them for the sake of completeness. If you find any of the metallics are a little dark, you can brighten them up with a splash of Ironbreaker. I like to use a matte varnish on my model, so sometimes I'll do this stage after I've applied that to bring back some shine to the metallics. It's been years since I've painted a Cadian. This guy was a lot of fun, and I love the more modern Imperial Guard sculpts, so cool. Thanks for watching everyone, why don't you check out some of these other videos, and we'll see you next time on the Hobby Grotto.